Okay, I'm gonna hit start streaming. Hopefully something goes through.
Okay.
Let's see if we can make it work.
Did you click it?
I clicked it, everybody. Tell me when you hear it.
I'm watching the page. It just says starting soon, but there might be a real. Oh, it's on.
Oh, did we get it? Are we there?
Yeah. I'm leaving the sound on until I hear stream. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're live. We're live. We've probably been live for about 30 seconds now. I had to
don't
wait.
even know. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can hear both of us.
Yeah. I heard my voice.
Oh, hey, good. Then we're here. Hi, everybody.
And make it work. Yep, I hear us. All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. I might actually. I'm going to lower the resolution so I can follow the chat.
All right.
That's the lowest possible resolution. Okay, cool. Cool. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Linsky. We got Matthew the Winkler here.
Mm-hmm.
And no Kyle.
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment. He might join us in a little bit. I have a
International Man of Mystery.
That's right. I have a sneaking suspicion he is asleep. He's been working hard lately. All right. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I don't know how many people we have with us either. I see a lot of stuff happening in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a lot, actually. There's a long list of participants. Wow, it really jumped up now. It looks like about 40, maybe. And then there's a bunch more as well that probably are not logged in, so we're not really getting much of a listing from them. So this is cool. Thank you all for joining us. And what we're going to be doing is talking about that Britannic video that we put out, oh gosh, what was that, 2 months ago? We did it for the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Britannic. We were a couple of days late, unfortunately, because we added a lot more stuff than we anticipated. But one of the things we wanted to do right away was this podcast. It was going to just be a podcast. But I don't know why, we just never did. Now, here we are doing it. We're going to walk through it. When we put our Titanic real-time video out, we did a podcast a couple hours later just to talk about it, walk through it, and explain. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play through it. You'll be watching it here. It's going to come up on that stream screen as soon as we hit play. And we're going to talk about behind the scenes. We're going to talk about the research that went into it. And we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. I'm seeing a lot of people here in the comments are saying that it's just constantly buffering. It's really not playing. And the problem is, it's just buffering for me too. I see it here on my screen. So that's a pain. I don't know what to tell you guys. That's YouTube. Didn't we have this problem last time, Matt?
I think it was too, yeah.
Yeah, it's buffering, constantly buffering. There's nothing we can do about that. Honestly, that's YouTube.
I don't think it's my internet, but I can try. I'm looking through the little thingies on it right now quickly.
Okay.
It says yellow for live for stream health, isn't it? It says it should be okay. It says okay. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, it should be playing. Should be going through fine. We got 209 people watching. I just got a message from somebody. 209 people. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So anyway. This is a real-time sinking video of the Britannic, which was the youngest sister of the Olympic-class liners, the oldest being the Olympic, the middle one being the Titanic, and then the youngest being the Britannic. Now, the Britannic always kind of was cheated, unfortunately. This is the way a lot of historians see it, because it never had the opportunity to be a passenger ship. It was converted into a hospital ship. At the outbreak of World War I when it was still under construction. So it was commandeered by the British government, and it was used to transport wounded soldiers out of the battlefield and treat them while bringing them back to a outpost or England itself. The whole Ottoman campaign was at its peak at this point. Gallipoli was just ending. You've got good internet. No one else is like, I
Nope.
don't know. Like my brother, when he would play Xbox Live, it would kill the internet.
We're live, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Stream's back online. Here we go.
Okay. All right. I see a black screen.
It should be black to start with.
Okay. Well, I don't see the buffering. So, want to jump into the video?
Yeah,
Want to start?
now.
Let's just jump right in. Start back at the beginning, please. Give me a countdown so I can watch it live.
Okay, let's see. It had no buffering yet. Black screen of death. That's because nothing's there yet, guys. But still, okay. All right. We're reloading it now. Let's see. It's gonna come back in. Oop, this isn't it. Sorry.
Let me know when you're gonna hit play, Matt.
Yes. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
All right, so now we're watching the video again. There's Ken's beautiful painting. Okay, are we working yet, guys?
It's going to be black.
8:07 a.m., 21st of November, 1960.
I see it on my end.
His Majesty's hospital ship Britannic is sailing to the British sea base of Lemnos in the Aegean Sea,
anyway,
where she would take on board thousands of wounded soldiers from the Allied campaigns against Turkey in the First World War.
Okay.
We're doing a project about a shipwreck that has become synonymous with disaster and advanced technology failing. And every single time we do a podcast or a live stream, we have issues like this.
Britannic was originally designed.
Okay, I'm getting feedback from a bunch of people. It should be working well now. Thank God.
I see it. So yes.
About that, everybody. Sorry about that. We good? Can everybody hear everybody? Matt, can you lower the video, the volume of the video down, right?
I did, yes. So hopefully it's not too, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Matt, I know that's not your fault. It's YouTube. Your internet's working fine now. Your internet wasn't the issue. It's obviously not the internet of 300 other people. I just don't.
This happens every time I watch a live stream of something. But anyway, yes.
All right. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Let's jump into this. What is this about? Is it the Britannic? It's the Britannic.
It's the Britannic.
And we just we're talking about historians. I think we're hearing the voice of Dan. I don't know what's happening actually. We just heard Dan Clistener before and Ken Marshall.
Okay, well, to recap for those joining us, we had this narrated by our historians. We figured they would be the best people to do this. We have Ken Marshall doing narrations. We have Park Stevenson, Dan Clistener. So 3 of our 4 lead historians are narrating. Bill wanted to do it. Bill Souter was going to also play a voice of the narration, but he had tech issues on his microphone and simply couldn't do it. So Matt jumped in last minute, and he did a voice.
Yeah, it was very upsetting.
I was tired of hearing my own voice too, so I certainly didn't want to offer. So that's what we have here. I gotta say though, one thing that really amused me is just how excited Ken was about this video. I felt like we made this video for Ken.
I feel like we make a lot of things for Ken sometimes.
Thanks for Ken.
There's Ken. Now Ken's talking.
Like he was very giddy to do this. It was pretty funny. Like almost every day he would say, "How's it going? What's going on with this? And when am I doing my narration?" And he honestly did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah, he would always send pictures of or videos of when he went to the Britannic wreck site, and he'd send pictures of Kia, what the sun looked like on a certain morning, like at 8 a.m. in the morning. He was trying to get the sun right for us and everything. He was really involved.
Yeah.
It was like everything. He's always involved. So yes.
Ken really kind of adopted this as like a pet project for the week or 2 that we were producing this. He got really into it. We really appreciate it as well. Of course, Dan and Parks, they did a fantastic job on their narrations as well. I found it kind of funny the way that they do it. You can see their personalities reflected in the way they do these recordings. Ken, he's an artist, he's a perfectionist. He does multiple takes, and then he'll say, "I think that one didn't turn out well, so I'm going to give you that again." and then he'll read through that part. He might redo a sentence. He's like, I don't like how that sounded, and he'll redo that. It's really funny. Dan, he's very similar in that sense. Parks, you can tell he just sat down, knocked it all out in one go.
Yeah.
And they all did a good job, but it was just kind of amusing listening to everybody.
Parks speaking right now.
Yeah, Parks is speaking. They're talking about the channel, about the mines being laid out. And one of the things I asked Parks to do was really emphasize the sinking of the Britannic is not a war crime. It's not deliberately sunk. It's not like the Germans targeted a hospital because they wanted to sink a hospital. Mines were laid out, and it would have hit anything going over it. It just sucked that it was a hospital. Now here we've got the voice of Jack Wall, and the testimony of Jack Wall being voiced by my friend James Penka up in New York City, and he is actually playing the voice of our lead character in the video game. So fun fact right there.
Kaboom.
There it goes. That was one of the first things we animated in this. That was very exciting.
And there goes the wireless antenna.
Yeah.
Or aerial, excuse me.
That was a relatively new thing, actually. The revelation of the wireless snapping, I don't think that was really published prior to this. That was Parks's theory. I think it was Parks's theory. If he came up with that with other people, I don't mean to deny them credit. But I'll go into that in a little bit. And here we just have the ship pulling away. Kyle and I tried mimicking the way we did it with the Titanic, how it just pulls away eerily and you're just left with the aftermath of the explosion. You know what's coming. The voice right now is Ada Garland, voiced by a friend of mine over in the Netherlands, Annelies van Overbeek. And she's pretty big on Instagram. She does a lot of vintage stuff. Gordon Fielding, it's me.
It's you again.
Out. I was sick that day too when I recorded my voice, so my accent is embarrassing.
At least it's the right officer. For the longest time, you thought you were a different officer.
Yeah, we had the testimony mixed up. I thought I was fourth officer. McTavish.
I forgot.
McTavish.
Yeah, and then you said it, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure he got off on a different boat already. But yeah.
And then Joseph Wolf right here. That's actually kind of embarrassing. I made a mistake on that, but it turned out well because he's a really cool guy. And he's one of our fans. And he did, I think, 2 walkthrough videos on YouTube of our demos that we released. And I saw in the comments he was talking with people, and some people were saying, oh, you should do a voice for them. He says he would if we ever asked. When we were editing this, I needed one more person to do a voice. And I thought, I'm going to ask him. He's got an accent. And I did. It was the middle of the night. I emailed him, and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm on board. So I went to check out his videos again. And I'm like, wait a second. He's Australian. He's not British. But he pulled it off. He did a great job.
His first orders were to sound the emergency quarters alarm and to close the watertight doors.
So he enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed having him. He's a really funny guy, too. Our conversation was just ridiculous. If you read our emails back and forth, they were so... I can't even describe it. You would think we were both insane.
I already do. Charles Bartlett was just speaking. Or he is still, I'm not sure.
He's a really good actor. Professionally done. He's got some good professional background as well.
He ordered the engines to stop and the lifeboats to be swung out and ready.
I think the sound effect of the alarm bell is going off right now. I have it muted, so I don't actually know what's happening. But I believe it's going off, and that was one of my favorite little sound effects that was added to this.
The alarm bell was a mystery. We didn't know what it really sounded like. There was none on the Titanic. There was none on the Olympic, as far as I'm aware. It was added to the Britannic. We don't even know where it was added to the Britannic because we can safely assume it was not literally all throughout the ship. You wouldn't hear it in every part. So we assume it's in the more common areas, probably all the crew spaces, and then the main passenger spaces, or what would have been the passenger spaces. We didn't know what it sounded like, so we just decided to be a little conservative. Instead of having some horn or blast sound, we wanted to just do a bell ringing, which is kind of what they did have on Titanic in like the engineer spacing.
Right. That makes sense too.
Yeah, and that's just a school bell sound effect, you know, the old-fashioned one. James Vickers is on now. Who played him? Oh, I really should have opened up my cast list. I'm gonna feel bad. I'm pretty sure that's Rawson. Rawson Wood. He's gonna be playing one of the lead voices in our game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Dowse, played by one of my friends in England, Ophelia, and she's also big on YouTube as well with vintage stuff.
Oh, yeah, you can see that Brittanic already listening.
That was actually not her real voice. She's
not, right.
She's young. She's our age, you know.
Yeah.
20s. And they recorded her.
Did I meet her?
You met her, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Okay, sorry.
When they came and got Jordan.
Right.
They lowered the pitch of her voice to make her sound like an older woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard it and I laughed because I know her natural voice, and it was pretty funny, but it sounded good if you don't know her natural voice. So like if you remove the fact that this is my friend in England who doesn't sound like this, it sounds good.
By the way, the land, and I saw someone in the comments say that asked if the land is accurate in the background.
Oh, it's very accurate.
Yes,
in fact,
is.
The building placement is accurate. You could see right here, you could see the buildings, and they're all assembled in the settlements. And in fact, if you zoomed in, which you can't, but if we were to move the camera over there, they're very low detail because we didn't need higher detail, but you would see some iconic buildings as well. There's a lighthouse church on one of the jetties that come out. And, you know, it's the typical Greek church with the aqua blue and the white, and it's there.
Is it still there today? Is that a church that's still on the island?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
One thing that amazes me is we're 7 minutes after the explosion, and you can see just how down that ship is.
It's got a big hole in it.
It does have a huge
Sorry, it's got a big hole in it.
I know.
And there's portholes also flooding and everything.
Yeah.
What is causing? I believe Parks has already mentioned like the watertight doors are off their tracks and everything and all that, etc. So at this point, like, is Britannic doomed or is she not doomed?
Oh, she was doomed right from the start. They had no defense. All of Britannic's defenses were knocked down immediately. That ship had no ability to save itself because every single watertight door in, I believe, the entire forward half of the ship was just ruined. They couldn't close them. They were open because they were doing a shift change at the time. 8 a.m. was the shift change, and it takes about 20 minutes to change the shift. And of course, it blows up at 8:12. So the doors are all open, and the explosion in the bow warps the hull, which is what snapped the wireless above. And it caused the frames of these watertight doors, the tracks that they would go down, to bend ever so slightly out of shape, and now the doors can't close. So the water is flowing freely into the ship right now.
But at least she has enough lifeboats.
Yes.
I mean, like, look at all those lifeboats.
And help is on the way fast.
Right.
You know? One of the things I wanted to show, if we could have, but we just simply couldn't, is that within minutes after the sinking, Greek fishing boats were already there picking up people out of the water.
Right, yeah.
Back to the damage real quick. This is evidence that I always cite when I hear people ask if Titanic hit the iceberg head on, she would have survived. No, she would not have. And I cite that as evidence right there. The vibration of a straight-on impact of the Titanic hitting the iceberg would have done the same damage to the watertight doors.
And they were all open on Titanic as well, so yeah.
Yeah, they
She would
opened
have
up all
rolled
the
over
water.
on her side like Britannic would have done.
Yeah.
Relatively quickly.
Here we have the first lifeboats leaving. The flag was a cool detail.
Mm-hmm.
Ken noted the sound effects. By the way, all of these sounds that you hear throughout this video are manually inserted. They are not live sounds in the game engine. We don't have any sounds in the game engine.
Oh, Ken loves hearing sound effects. I think that's what he's emailed a couple times later commenting on your sound effects.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I love the sound of the gantry davits. It brings it to life. Oh, the flag was awesome.
Well, these videos are silent. Kyle records them. The way it works, basically, let me walk you through the process.
Yeah, let's do a little like behind the scenes now of these videos.
Yeah.
Let's start from the really beginning of it all. The research.
Research.
I mean, like it starts. We have this is basically a Titanic model, but with some additions to it. Obviously, Titanic did not have these cranes, did not have giant red crosses on it, and had different A deck promenades and different B deck promenades. So there was a little bit of research that went into it, and to do that, we had to ask our historical advisors. Mainly, it was Ken and Bill who helped out with that. Ken has a ton of photographs of Britannic as well, and Bill had plans of Britannic that he gave to us. So we had to do about a week's worth of like research. Like we dove in, mostly me, and since Kyle's not here, mostly me, to create the exterior of this ship. And it was fun to do the exteriors of a ship for once. Usually I'm on the insides. But a lot of the key things that were needed for Britannic were like the gantry davits, for example. Those had to be done accurately because those stand out on Britannic. But once they get added to the model, they get put into the engine, and then Kyle, you're here, right? Oh, you're not here. Darn it. He can't tell us what happens, what goes into the engine work, like every time.
I was there for most of that.
So yeah, so go ahead.
I can explain.
Yeah.
But I probably can't do it justice.
No.
Anyway, once Kyle gets the models, he puts them into the engine. He has to work all the textures, and he actually did do a significant amount of texture work on this. He did a lot of the textures. He added the rust for the most part.
Yeah. Nicholas redid the hull as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Nicholas helped as well, and so did Chris with modeling.
Yeah, Chris helped with the modeling.
So they were working on that. They were doing all of this. Kyle also did the lifeboats, I believe.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, then it gets processed in the engine, and once the model is all set, then we start going through the timeline of the animations that are supposed to happen. And the very first thing we had to place was the movements of the ship. Not the lifeboats, not the funnels, not any of that stuff. The ship has to be tracked out first. Then we can start having everything that branches off of the ship. And we sat down with our historian, Park Stevenson, and we figured out the angle of the ship at any given point. We figured out how fast it's moving. There was a lot of mathematical calculations that went into figuring out how fast it was going, where it was. We used the proper GPS coordinates of where the wreck is, where we assume the impact was, where the minefield was laid out. Everything in this is thoroughly researched. So once that was laid out, the animation continued further and further. I sat down with Kyle, and we made this long to-do list. And you and Kyle, I believe, calculated the times of all the lifeboats that left.
Yeah, that was a lot of a guessing game, kind of, because there's not an accurate list like Titanic, where survivor accounts have been put together and formulated to which lifeboats went first. There's a good idea of which lifeboats were lowered first, and the number of lifeboats which were lowered, but there, to the best of our knowledge and the best of the other historians which we contacted just for this video, there isn't a precise, detailed formula that can be given to which lifeboats went down in which order.
Right. So it was somewhat guesswork.
Right.
Biggest annoyance is you have to do guesswork and stuff.
Yeah.
You have. because we have to show everything. And if we have gaps in it, we have to fill those gaps in. But unfortunately, we get criticism from some people saying, well, you don't have proof that that's how it actually happened. No, we don't have proof that that detail is that way. But we couldn't not show anything. So I want to say that we are, I want to say that this animation is 90% correct, 90%, and the remaining 10% will never be known, as far as I'm aware, unless some huge revelation comes out that no one has been aware of. This is 90% accurate. The movements of the ship are accurate. The lifeboats is where the real question comes in.
Yeah, but they're pretty accurate. The number of lifeboats that leave the ship are accurate.
Yeah.
We got that part right.
Yeah. And we were pretty good at figuring out the movements of the officers, the movements of the captain, which people got off where, and we used that evidence to really figure out. All right, well then we know it's one of these boats at the very least.
Right.
So
we know the two important boats.
yes, we do.
Yeah, we know those at least. I always forget that you guys put this little on the deck shot in.
Yeah, we wanted to show off the detail of the lifeboats and of the decking, and
of the cranes too. These crazy cranes, which look kind of gross from far away, but up close, I mean, like, I like them after a while.
I think they look cool from a distance.
Yeah.
I think they look very, I don't know how to describe them.
I think it made the Britannic look more steampunk in a way.
Yeah, steampunk. That's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
The Britannic really was a steampunk ship.
Yes.
And but anyway, yeah, I like those gantries. But interestingly enough, you'll notice that I don't think there were any gantry davits like that on any other ship.
I haven't seen them really, no.
I mean, I think battleships or military ships would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes sense that Britannic would be given them, given that it's a military ship at the time, and the military finishes it off. But one other thing that we've been questioned on a few times from historians as well is, why is the fourth funnel covered in soot when there's no smoke that comes out of it, because it's not attached to a boiler room? So why is it covered in soot? Matt, that was you who figured that one out. Why don't you explain that?
Oh, it's just because it's buff colored at the top. It's just over the course of its life. Oh, there's a lifeboat going to be smashed in a bit. But there's photographs of it in its last month in service, and the top of it looks pretty dirty. So we made sure it was dirty too. That's the easy way of explaining it.
It's based off of a photograph which shows it.
Yes. I posted that on our comments a couple times, but here we go.
This must have been terrifying. They saw that they were going towards the propeller, and they just start jumping right out. Now,
I like how the boat's not moving, but Britannic is moving.
Yeah, this is not the boat. The little lifeboat is not rowing away or anything like that. The ship itself is steaming past. And I think that's a perspective that you really have to remember, that the ship is moving. The lifeboat is static in the water. And I'm going to just offer an opinion here. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to offer this opinion. In doing this animation, I really think the captain made a lot of the mistakes. Just so many mistakes. I don't think he handled it well. I have a lot of sympathy for Titanic's captain. But this captain, I mean, it's just like, come on, dude. You're not going to make it to the island. Stop moving the ship. I mean, he must have thought that they were going to hit a sandbar or something. You know, he must have thought that they're going to run aground.
Well, he did tell them not to lower those lifeboats. I mean, and those were not like the officers lowering those too, so.
Yeah, after Titanic sank, they added features to these ships so that lifeboats could be automatically lowered with, I guess, the push of a button, so to speak. And a lot of crew were getting in themselves and then pushing that button or pulling the lever or whatever the mechanism is. and they launched on their own. Henry Pope, that's Rawson. James Vickers, I know who James Vickers is. I am so sorry, Dan. That's Dan over in England, who helped us out a lot. Yeah, that's Spammels on YouTube. I don't have the cast list in front of me, so I forgot. He might actually be tuned in right now, and I'm sure he was in the comments saying, "That's me, guys, that's me," and we missed it. But anyway, yeah, the captain. I mean, they're how many miles off? We calculated they were like 4.5 miles off shore when they saw the land, or when they got hit and decided they were going to make for land. There's no way the ship's going to make that. It doesn't even come close. It's actually kind of interesting. They really don't make much progress at all over the course of the hour because they can't steer the ship. The rudder is jammed. They can only steer the ship by spinning the propellers on one side and stopping the propellers on the other. And that didn't even really work. If you watch the track of the video, which you can't see it in the video, but if you look overhead and watch the animation timeline from the computer standpoint, you'll see that the ship really only arcs maybe like 3 degrees. That's how much it turns or something. Now here goes the testimony of Violet Jessup. She was a nurse. No, she was a stewardess on this. And yeah, she did not have a good time. Certainly did not have a good time. She was on the Titanic as well, and she was on the Olympic when it crashed into the Hawk, or I should say the Hawk crashed into her.
Yeah.
So we didn't have cables for the lifeboats. I always find it funny how those boats look like they're just floating there, because they basically are. We didn't have the dynamic lifeboat falls to do it.
Yeah, they're doing this one, not, yeah. Uh-oh.
I forced myself into the water, but was unable to swim.
Anyway, Violet is voiced by a friend of mine in Belfast, yeah. And she did that for us basically last minute. That's Olivia.
It hit me 3 times on the head. Terrible blows and made my brain rattle. But fortunately,
Violet then described that she was in the water and she watched the Britannic just steaming away. And I can't help but think of how terrifying of a sight that must be to see your ship steaming away and you're in the middle of the ocean. I mean, even if your ship is going down, you still have that feeling of strandedness.
There are some boats around you, but still, you know, there's also a war going on.
There's no...
That would be in the back of my mind.
What do you mean?
That there's a war going on. At all times, that would just be like lingering there. It's hard to swim 4 miles from, you know, a sinking ship.
It is.
It's hard to swim 4 miles. Period.
Yeah. And she had her jacket on.
Especially
too.
in lots of clothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the life jacket was holding her overcoat to her. Now here's a pretty frightening circumstance. And the third lifeboat was actually almost sliced up right here, but the propeller stopped in time, and it didn't get cut up. But people already jumped out of it into the sea.
Right.
And 3 people stayed in the boat, and they used oars to push off of the propeller blades as they passed it. Stuart Anderson is voiced by another friend of mine in England. So, basically all of these voice actors are friends, or friends of friends. And I might be tapping into a lot of them for voices in the final game too, perhaps.
I think we just heard Britannic's voice. We've heard it a few times. The sound of the whistles going off.
Yes, yes. That took a lot of research too. That's authentic. See, there's a video of the horn from the Olympic. A lot of people will refer to a video of the Titanic's horn blasting. They recovered the horn off the ocean floor, and then they restored it a little bit, and then they blasted hot air through it. And they have a video of that. So a lot of people take that as the sound of Titanic's horn. And if it's Titanic's horn, it's going to be Britannic's horn as well. It's going to be Olympic's horn, because they were basically identical. Except that's hot air. These ships pumped steam through it. They didn't want to do steam because they thought they would destroy the artifact. So they just put hot air through it. But steam actually makes it a lot deeper. Now, there is one surviving video that I'm aware of the Olympic's horn as it arrived in New York City. So we took that video. We analyzed it. I took it to a couple experts of mine who are musicians, and they have perfect pitch. And they figured out the chord for me. And we sat down with the chord, and then I referred that chord off to a friend of mine who wants to help with the final game as our sound director, and he recreated it. He took a steam engine, steam train whistle, modified it to make it a heck of a lot bigger, and then adjusted it to match the pitch. Made it echoey and did all of the effects to make it a steam ship as opposed to a steam train. And that's what we used there. And he's actually really quite professional. He worked on a lot of big games out there. He worked on Halo, Gears of War. He has a long list of like 30 different projects, and he wants to be our sound director, so that's really exciting. And yeah, so here we've got the ship basically stopped, and they're just getting most of the lifeboats away. Now is this is really where the evacuation comes in. Now the order is given, evacuate the ship, and they start putting off all of the lifeboats. So all of the lifeboats, as we said prior to this, that left against the orders from the captain. So those boats getting sliced up was not really the captain's fault. They left on their own will. In fact, the captain didn't even know that those lifeboats got sliced up. He stopped the Britannic purely by coincidence. That was not a reaction that lifeboats.
He heard that a boiler room had flooded or something along those lines. I'm not even sure.
Yeah,
I think he said it in his dialogue. Sorry.
Water got into another compartment, so he realized the ship is probably not going to make it. So let's get the ship evacuated. Now, he was really sentimentally attached to the Britannic, and I think that's why he was so determined to really run it aground and stay with the ship as long as possible. Because he oversaw the construction and the launch of the Britannic, and I believe he was the captain of it for its entire career. And it really only did about 6 round trips so far. It was really a short career. Not as short as Titanic, obviously, which sank on its first voyage. But so I believe he had a sentimental attachment to that, and I think that's really why he was trying to save the ship. I don't think it was because he wanted to save it for the sake of saving it. I think he was just attached to it because, honestly, any captain who's not inhibited by emotions like that would realize this ship has no hope. It's not going to reach land. And I do think it was relatively irresponsible of him. You can't blame the lifeboats being sliced up on him, but there is something, it comes up later. His testimony conflicts with that of a few others. And we decided to still include it in the video. You can interpret it however you want, but you'll notice that he says he's on the bridge. The water is coming into the bridge, or just about up to the bridge. I'm saying this now so that you can see it later. And then Lieutenant Anderson tells him, everyone has been evacuated, there's no one left on board, so they leave. But after that, the engineering crew comes out on deck, and a quartermaster comes out on deck. So clearly they're not the last people on the ship. There's some misinformation. So you'll see that towards the end of the video. It's probably still another 20 minutes from now, if not 25.
Right, the engineering staff came up out from the below deck as well.
Oh, I said that.
Oh, you did? Sorry.
Yeah, the engineering staff and this one this one quartermaster. I always found his story amusing. I mean, you can laugh about it because he survives.
Sorry, I was looking at the boat sinking.
It's very captivating.
Yeah. And the davits moving. The davits moving are kind of cool.
Oh yeah, Ken said that with the sounds too.
Yeah.
I found that quartermaster's story to be somewhat amusing. At this point, he goes down. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go get bread for the lifeboats. They did that. When a ship starts sinking, they would go into the ship's food supplies and bring out food to stock up the lifeboats, because you never know how long you're going to be in the lifeboats. In fact, they did that on Titanic. The Baker staff loaded up each of the lifeboats with sacks of bread and biscuits, and basically they emptied the ship's bakery into the lifeboats so that people had food to eat. But this one quartermaster goes below, and he's like, I'm going to get some bread for the boats. And he's down there the whole time. He's down there until after the last lifeboats leave. I find it amusing, the shock that he must have felt when he comes out on deck holding a box of bread, and the ship is rolling over and everyone's gone. So he made it, as I said. He survived. But he just dropped the bread and just got out of there. I honestly think that this Britannic video is more visually appealing than the Titanic one. I feel like the detail of the ship is far superior. Certainly the texturing on the hull, it feels far more detailed, because the black of the Titanic's hull really masks the details, especially at night. It almost looks
daytime, it does help a lot.
Yeah. Here, even right now, you can see the riveting. You can see every single window. You can see some of the rust stains that came down from the windows.
Another thing that's interesting about this one is it has some of the parts that were, like the funnels, for instance, and some of the details on the well decks, in the forecastle and the poop deck are the final models that'll be in the game that Kyle's made for the exterior. You know, a lot of these are recycled parts from the Titanic model, and in the real-time sinking, that was a completely different model altogether. It was Kyle's old virtual sailor model. So that was a really low quality, not compared to what he's made now. It was a low quality model, but this is like our highly accurate, super detailed model. So when you're passing by the funnels, for instance, you'll see the whistles like 100 times better. The cranes are too, right? I think the cranes are from the game.
You mean the cargo cranes?
Cargo cranes, yeah.
Yeah, they're final. I think everything forward of the superstructure is final except for Britannic specific stuff. I think he basically just copied over all of it. So that's all Titanic, and then made the adjustments to make it Britannic. So to put that in easier terms, Kyle, who does a lot of our modeling, especially the exterior of the ship, he made a lower quality Titanic model for fun about 10 years ago. And it's very low detail by today's standards. But that's what we used for our real-time Titanic video. It's low quality. This is higher. And his lower quality Titanic one is not what you'll see in our game. So basically what you see in our real-time Titanic
now you can start to see the details that he's made.
Yeah, you can. But in our real-time Titanic, that's not actually our game.
No.
That's I always describe it to people as pre-visualization. It's really just our concept art that's animated in a sense. Matt, what is the G618 on the bridge?
It's its like Admiralty identification number.
Okay.
You know, Olympic had one. I believe actually Olympic and Britannic had a couple of them, because Britannic was taken out of service once, I think in September of 1916, and she was actually going to be returned back to the White Star Line. I'm not 100% positive on this, but she was about to be brought back into passenger service, but then there was some big battle happened and they needed hospital ships back, and so she was brought back in October, and she was relabeled G618, and that was her new number. And she was on her first trip back as a hospital ship, and she was sunk.
It was a 2-week round trip, I believe, from Southampton, England, and then they stopped in Naples, Italy, and actually a lot of the staff, specifically the nurses and the stewardesses and stewards, they all got off in Naples, and they actually went sightseeing, and they visited Pompeii, which is right outside Naples. So that's just a cool little trivial piece of information. I always was fascinated by Pompeii, and I thought it was kind of cool that they went there right before this. I love that shot right there. I love that angle.
We have the same angle from our Titanic sinking video.
Yeah, we do, except I think it's listing in the opposite direction in that.
Oh yeah, it is listing the port. It's true.
Yes.
Titanic had the port listed this time. But we have the exact same number right there. The exact same lifeboat was like being lowered.
Oh yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that angle though, with all the detailing on the cables and just all of that. It's really a beautiful shot, and this is really a beautiful animation. It's terrifying in a sense. All the ambient effects, the seagulls flying, it feels peaceful, but it's not. You know, you're in the Mediterranean. You have this beautiful blue ocean, you have the seagulls, it feels like a warm day, even if it is November. And it's a pretty ship. The white looks good on it, the yellow funnels looks good on it, but it's going down, and you hear the engines pumping. You don't hear it right now, but
they're off, yeah.
You will again. And it's just very juxtaposing. It feels like such a beautiful environment, and here the ship is going down. The cranes are pulling back in. I think that the crane that's closest to the camera right now, which is like right between us and the fourth funnel, I believe that crane is jammed.
It is, yes.
I know it gets jammed, but is it already jammed, Matt?
It's already jammed. Yeah, that's why no lifeboats are being launched from it.
Yeah, we don't mention it in the animation, but it's there and it's jammed.
It's still that way on the wreck too.
Yeah, you'll see all of the other cranes. They're still moving around. They're still picking up lifeboats. And then when the ship finally does do its final plunge, all the other sets of cranes are swung out and in the active position like they just launched a lifeboat, except that one, which is still swung in because it jammed. And it's essentially broken. A lot of lifeboats actually went down with the Britannic, which was fine because they didn't need it.
Right. I think we got 35 lifeboats were launched.
Yeah, and there were like 50-some on board.
Yeah, I think it's 35 out of 55. So I think 20 went down with the ship.
Yeah.
And obviously most of them are on the port side that couldn't be launched because of the list.
Right. They can't go straight down because they hit the hull, and it makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to actually clear the boats. So you see those 3 lifeboats hanging close to the deck. I mean, they might still launch, I forget. But
no, those are impossible at this point.
Yeah. But that lifeboat right there in the foreground, that can still launch because it has much more clearance between the ship itself and the straight drop. You can see a really good angle of it right there. You can see that it's clear, but the other ones don't have the clearance. There's a lot of structural differences between the Britannic and the Olympic, in a sense. Structurally, like in terms of like the internal structure and the engineering of the ship, they were relatively similar. The Britannic was upgraded and enhanced in order to improve off of the Titanic disaster. But there's a lot of buildings that were added to the deck, like that box on the very back, which was the morgue, right?
Yes.
As well as a few other things, such as you can see the aft well deck is enclosed.
Yeah, and the second class had a gymnasium there, actually.
Yeah, but that was never used for
Nope.
it. Yo, Matt, let's talk about the skylight when it comes around.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Why? That's not your.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, don't feel bad about it.
Oh, no, it's fine. We'll do it.
Okay. All right. Good. When it's visible, we'll talk about it. So people know what we're talking about.
I stand by it.
Okay. Good. You'll also see the lifeboats are still moving aft. They're not rowing. The Britannic is still moving forward.
Yeah, I think she just turned her engines back on, too.
Oh, yes, she did. You'll see as we start to zoom out that the propellers are spinning again. This is where Captain Bartlett really screws up. He felt that the ship was safe enough to turn back on. Now, I do have to really reiterate that if you're on board one of these ships, it's a lot harder to really know what is going on than if you're us here watching a video with a really wide shot. You see the angle. Ken Marshall was on James Cameron's sets when they were filming the movie Titanic, and they tilted the set decks to 6 degrees, which is, I guess, about what the ship is doing there.
Yeah.
And he says within a few minutes you forget.
Yeah, you get used to it right away.
Yeah, you don't notice it. So I can understand how a lot of people on board the Britannic, such as the captain, might feel like the ship's pretty stable still. It's not sinking all that bad because you can't see the propellers coming out. And I can certainly understand why on the Titanic they still felt safe when the ship was down this much. But what is absolutely inexcusable, and you don't realize this until you watch this animation, because this animation is the one that figured this out. How could the captain, in his right mind, turn the ship back on and think they're safe when there's water coming into the well deck? You're on the bridge, you have the perfect view of the well deck. And the water's up to it right now.
Well, what's the answer?
There was no answer.
Okay.
He just turned it back on. He's
You
like,
held
well,
me in suspense there. I was like, oh, I didn't know this. Why?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a hypothetical question.
I just loved his ship so much.
He loved his ship, and you're still 3.75 miles away from the island of Kia. And the water is up to your decks.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he didn't turn the ship back on, that ship would be gone in less than an hour. But he turns the ship back on, the windows are all open, and now the deck is exposed, and the propellers are driving the ship perfectly forward. Not necessarily just straight forward on the surface, but their forward propulsion is actually digging it deeper in the exact angle that the ship is pointed. So it's slightly being pushed under the surface as well. And that's sinking it faster. So the well deck is flooding now. Water is soon going to be coming onto the forecastle deck. The forecastle deck is the deck in the very front with the mast and all the black stuff, the chains, and capstans.
And the bits.
So,
what island is in the background?
not Kia.
Not Kia. It's that one with the M, right? Or N.
Mykonos.
I'm not Greek. Okay.
I don't remember. We have it written down
Right.
somewhere.
Yes.
But
we have both islands. That's the point.
yeah, they're there. We wanted to do mainland Greece too, which technically should have been visible, but it's literally beyond the distance the engine can do.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we wanted to do like a forced perspective illusion and make it a little closer, then we cut it out.
Yeah.
We'd probably done forced perspective and made it right around the edge, but we just didn't have the time. Kyle is up, by the way. I'm gonna bring him in.
All right, good.
I feel bad that he couldn't be here from the start. Bring him
There's
in.
Kia in the background. Now I can see it.
There's Kia.
See, when it still looks like it's so close that you can just reach out and get there.
Yeah, it's torturous. I can sympathize with the captain. I still think he's making a huge mistake here, but I can understand the frustration. I certainly
But
can.
then when you look down in your well deck and you see this.
Yeah, so the sympathy's gone.
Right.
I believe we have Kyle with us.
Hello?
Hey, Kyle, we're live.
Hey! You called me unexpectedly there. I have to put in all my headphones and things.
Alright, you better hurry up because the Britannic's sinking.
Yeah,
It doesn't look good.
Oh dear.
You already missed all the lifeboats. Yeah,
I missed everything. I am so angry right now.
Yeah. Sorry.
The well deck looks like it's underwater, so.
I got your message about your little alarm clock.
You
But
made it for the
anyway-
best part, though.
Yeah, this is definitely the best part. So, Kyle, we're going to continue on watching this, just describing things as they happen. Then we'll get your perspective on making this and everything you did in the animations afterward.
There's
Alright,
some nice
so
detail in his cranes. Yeah, right there. There's some good Titanic Honor and Glory crane detail. Sorry. I like those.
Well, they're also in the right position, too, I believe. Like,
Yeah, they are. Britannic's
one of-
cranes are like that.
Yeah, we pay attention to the detailing on the wreck, and we leave the machinery in that position.
Well, I don't know about the
At least
well deck
proud-
cranes, but yeah, the other ones.
Least proud moment on this video is right there when that cable cuts through the camera. Ugh, that always annoys me.
Sorry, Kyle. It's okay, though.
Oh, Kyle, we're actually 30 seconds ahead of you, though.
Oh, really?
You're watching the live stream, and there's a 30-second delay. So just bear with us, I guess. Pretend you're 30 seconds ahead. You know the animation. You helped make it.
30 seconds in. Well, then I will open the animation in a separate window and
His knee
All right.
jump that ahead.
All right. Just keep it muted.
And then the forecastle's going underwater now.
Yeah, this is where it's really starting to dip. The ship is losing everything. Now, if you watch from here to the end and you pay attention to the water levels, like if you compare it to Windows, you'll see just how fast the ship is really dropping right now. Like I'm watching the starboardmost porthole on the well deck, and that is going down pretty fast too.
Yeah, well, once the deck of a ship starts going underwater, that ship doesn't have much time left, especially if it's moving.
Exactly.
No, I like that with the flag.
Yeah, that and you pass the broken aerials too. I mentioned that we would tackle that real quick. Parks brought that up. Parks is an expert on the wireless machines. He's really a Marconi expert. I'm pretty sure Britannic had Marconi as well. Maybe. I can't say that with certainty, so I won't
Wait,
say
we had
that.
what? Did Britannic have Marconi wireless?
It had a telegraph of some sort.
It had Marconi, yes.
It did?
Yes.
Okay, because Marconi. All right. I didn't want to say that because Marconi is a private enterprise and this is military. So
I'm pretty
I
positive. Yes. Okay. Well, never mind. Keep going. Sorry.
Anyway, he's an expert on that stuff, and he said that Britannic could not receive messages. It was sending them. They weren't sure if they were sending them, but they certainly were because other ships were receiving it. So in hindsight, we know that it actually was transmitting, but at the time they didn't know they were transmitting. And Parks says these are the perfect symptoms for the aerial actually going down. And the aerial are the cables between the two masts. It's the antenna for the wireless.
They receive, right?
Yes. Yeah. Wait, what?
They're the ones that receive the messages.
I think they receive. You can still transmit, but not well. You can't get the same distance, but you can still transmit somewhat. And because of the flexing of the hull, which we know warped the structure, it's very safe to assume that they snapped as well. It doesn't mean the hull flexed so far that it stretched. I know, you see the skylight.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that the hull stretched so far that it snapped, but instead it stretched somewhat, flung the cables up into the air, they reached their max stress point and snapped. All right, so there's your skylight right there.
It was right next to the
Here's your freaking
elevator.
skylight.
Yeah, watch your mouth. Right next to the elevator gear house. It's in a
Yeah.
photograph. It's in one photograph, and it's in a high-quality photograph that no one else has.
It's
But
kind
Ken
of
Marshall
fun.
has it.
It's kind of funny because there's an object there. We're pretty certain it's a skylight. There's definitely something there, and someone saw this video and they saw that skylight and they don't believe it's actually there. So they thought that
I think
skylight.
it's actually next to the grand staircase dome casing. It's not where we put it. We put it there pretty quickly. It should be like 6 feet back where it is, but it's in that general area. That's all.
I just find it funny that because we have a skylight that they don't agree with, they use that to discredit this entire video.
That's what we deal with.
That is what we deal with. All right, now you can really see the ship is
This is the final plunge.
dropping like a stone. I loved Ada Garland's testimony here, how she describes the Britannic like a dumb animal at this point, really just calling for help. Its sirens are still blasting, and it really just felt like a wounded animal that was dying. And I thought that was the perfect metaphor for this ship right now, because you can really visualize that. And with this animation, you can certainly visualize that. And we have the alarm bell cut out here. You hear it kind of flash off like the water enters the circuitry. Realistically, I think the alarm would have been going the whole time, but we had it fade out after about 5 minutes, and we had it fade in about a minute ago, just so it's not annoying everybody. So the captain has gotten out of here, Stuart Anderson, who I believe is in charge. I think he was in charge of the entire military detachment on board. They've reported that everyone is gone, and they jump out of there. But the engineers are still coming out, and so is that quartermaster. Now the funnel goes. Interestingly, on the wreck, you'll see that the funnel was actually still there.
I think it gets stuck in the gantry davits.
I was thinking that too. I think its cables gripped it, and it held on.
Because the rest are clear of gantry davits, so that's why they're further away from the wreck.
Right. They all fall where it detached, but the forward funnel was dragged down with the wreck, and it's technically still holding on. I love the waves in the foreground too, by the way.
It was indeed sad to watch our ship slowly but surely sinking. We could hear her boilers.
And the boats are sliding down.
Winifred's testimony is interesting because it's very 1916. It feels right, because she says the funnels were so big that you could have driven a coach and four through it. And I read that, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And it's a coach with 4 horses. Okay. So I love that because you don't know what that is today. You have to look it up. It's something they got in 1960, but you don't get it today, or at least I didn't.
I always think that the sound that's coming up is the sound of water rushing into the engine room.
With that really loud...
Yes, I think it's like the sound rushing down the tank into the tank room, into the tank shaft, all the way down to the reciprocating engine room or something. And it's filling up the ship, and it's like, and it's just making this eerie groaning noise right now.
I did those sound effects, and they took a lot of work. There's a lot of bass and warping of pitches. It's all metal scrape sounds, and I really deepened them and put them into extreme slow motion and just really screwed around with them. I had a lot of fun doing that. They're chilling to listen to.
There's so much more detail here in the sounds and the special effects than there is from the Titanic real time.
Yeah.
Such a huge like gap of what we created in a week.
I know.
The Titanic, and this, which we took like 4 weeks about.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, the first 3 weeks were slow because we were still working on game stuff. And,
yeah.
This was kind of just background, but yeah, about 4 weeks of processes.
And then there's that one lifeboat that just hangs on, caught in the railing, and then falls.
Someone commented. They said they thought it was floating there. They thought it was a mistake. No, it's jammed into that little corner of railing right there, and the rafts are all jammed up on the deck obstacles. Like that raft just went.
And hit a davit.
Yeah. I mean, like, we don't have evidence of all that stuff, but we can assume that's happening because that lifeboat would have been loose. It's not latched into the gantries, so they would have been falling across. You can see the mast of one of the motor launches in the foreground. I think it was a motor launch, but
Yeah.
I wish we showed more of the motor launches. There were 2 motorized lifeboats that left the ship, and they basically followed it around like seagulls chasing a boat for food that might be thrown overboard. But these motor launches were chasing the Britannic, trailing it, keeping up with a sinking ship, picking people up out of the water. Now this is where the Britannic has already hit the bottom. It's dug into the sand, and now it's just falling back. And the sounds are really especially grindy here because the ship's vibrating like crazy. And it's just settling back in. I think it's cool.
It's also around this point that you know, after the Britannic dug into the bottom, it started to sort of twist around to where today it's resting in a very different position than when it went down, and that's sort of after it dug into the bottom, that's where you get that huge break under the well deck.
Yeah, the current and the ship's own momentum was still pushing it, so it twisted around once it dug in. We show that. It's hard to see because of the camera angle, but we show it. It's actually not really pointed to the island in the wreck site. I love how the flag was still flying up until the very last moment. You don't get that with Titanic because it sank at night. They took the flags down. Plus, ships didn't really fly the flags when they were out in the middle of the ocean because no one's really going to see you. But here on the Britannic, they were. It's a military ship. They're sailing around. They're close to land. They're close to the port. I think they were going to arrive that day, like late that night or maybe early the next morning. And I just think the flags flying is a huge difference in this. We did this part right here as a quick tribute to everyone who died on board the Britannic. We couldn't do this with Titanic because obviously Titanic had 1,500 people die, whereas this, I believe it was 30, 31. And you can fit that all on screen here. So we want to do that quick memorial. And there you have it. There you can see the rafts. You can see the lifeboats. It probably would have been full of more debris.
Right, deck chairs, everything.
Yeah, but we couldn't get into that detail.
Dining room chairs even.
Yeah. The motor launches are still just steaming around, picking people up. Within the next couple minutes, there would be Greek fishing boats coming out to see you. Like, coming out right here, they'd be swimming through and picking people up. I suppose they just saw the Britannic listing, and they probably knew from there. I doubt they got the distress calls. I doubt they had wireless on the island. Maybe someone on the island had it and said, go out. But one thing that's very interesting is we actually put the camera on the island, and we looked out and saw what the view is of the Britannic going down, and the Britannic's actually quite large on the horizon. It was a really interesting perspective. We got to see it. We didn't watch the full animation, but we did look at it and see what it would have been like to stand on the beach and watch the Britannic go down. That's one of the very exciting things about doing these animations. You get to really see angles that have never been shown before, never even been described before, or if it has been described, you get to see it. So there you go. That's our animation. We've got 433 people tuned in right now.
That was fun. It was fun to watch that again.
It was fun. It was fun. I think that's the first time I watched it straight through.
Really?
Yeah, in one sitting.
No, maybe, yeah.
So yeah, that was it. And 20 people left. They're done.
Yes.
They watched the animation and they're gone.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't blame them. All right, so the podcast is planned to continue on for another few minutes. We wanted to talk about some additional details. Kyle, why don't you tell us what you did? Because we talked about what we did in the beginning, but you weren't here. So why don't you fill in? What was your part of the process of this video like? What did you do? Tell us about it, please.
Oh, everything. All right, not everything, but I made the ship sink.
Yes.
You did do that, yeah.
I put together the model parts. Matt did most of the modeling of all the sort of Britannic aspects of it, and he did a great job on that. Did you mention that?
Yes.
I mentioned I did, yeah. That's my side, yeah. Some of the parts, yeah.
Yep. So I put those things together. I did sort of my own things. Did a nice bit of conversion on the old virtual sailor model. I actually used a slightly newer model because the hull looks a lot better in this. And then I imported it. Imported all the stuff, the lifeboats, the ship davits, whatever else was used. I created the island from height maps, the terrain, and put the water in the sky and everything. And then I animated it pretty much. It's according to information given to me by Tom Parks and others. And it was quite a process. I had to animate first the ship, its usual course, and its sinking, and then fine-tune that as best I could. And then I had to animate the davits going out and the lifeboats being lowered, and then the lifeboats sort of swimming away from the ship. And add the effects, and animate the splashes of water, smoke, splashes. Luckily, I didn't have to do anything else, like sound-wise. That's all Tom's part.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I just recorded it. The most tedious part of it was the lifeboats actually being swung out and lowered because there were just so many lifeboats.
There's more than Titanic, right?
Yeah, and the davits had to keep swinging in and out.
Yeah, they kept moving. Sometimes 6
and they
times.
have the extra.
Yes.
Yeah, and the extra parts where you have little pistons driving them too.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Like every extra part had to be an extra thing to be animated over the course of the sinking, so that was really fun.
I got to give a quick shout out to one of our other voice actors who's tuned in right now, Jordan Tuvey.
Oh, Jordan's here.
Yeah, Jordan's listening.
Oh,
I missed. I was trying to pay attention to the video and watch the names as they pop up and see, and give shout outs as it came, but I guess it was hard to pay attention to that and talk.
We mentioned Jordan though, because we talked about being on the trip.
We mentioned his girlfriend,
Yeah,
Ophelia.
we did. Yeah, but we didn't mention Jordan.
No. I forget the guy he played.
He was just like a private.
Yeah, he was a private in the Royal Army.
He got his eye injured.
He did get his. Did he? Was that Jordan?
I think it was Jordan. He talked about getting into a lifeboat and then something hit him in the eye, like water, and he got a bloody eye.
Yes.
It sounds like Jordan.
That's totally something Jordan would do. I mean, that's like the most fitting character for Jordan to play. Jordan went to England with us. Actually, he didn't go to England with us.
He's already living there.
He lives in England. And you guys might remember him if you watched our trip to England, which we did a daily video of because we were doing all this research and Titanic stuff. And we're Titanic nerds. You guys are all Titanic nerds, so more than likely. So we shared the days with you. And if you'll remember, Jordan was the guy who's not us. He was the one with the accent.
Right.
Yes. But he did one of the voices as well. So there we go. That's Jordan. I think he's... Anyway. All right. Anyway.
Kai, I also said during this that some of the parts on the Britannic were from the new model of Titanic, right?
Yeah, there are a few bits taken from there. I don't remember which bits.
But that's why some of it looks a lot. I mean, a lot of it looks. I was saying before as it was sinking that this just looks, in my opinion, like 100 times more impressive than Titanic real-time sinking.
Yeah, I think the yeah, I think the rudder, the funnels, the anchors, some stuff on the forecastle.
Yeah, the cranes too, right?
Yeah, the cranes.
Yeah, cranes.
Yeah.
Just some impressive stuff.
Yeah. It was a fun video to make. Our historians seem to really like doing it. It got a lot of attention among the community of historians. It didn't get the same publicity outside of the historians as Titanic got. I mean, Titanic just blew up. We had over 1 million views a day, and we were doing interviews and a lot of stuff. But anyway, that's that. That's the Britannic. I want to say thank you to all of the historians who helped us, all the voice actors and actresses who helped us, and we had a great time doing this. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Not about Britannic, but
You want to mention tomorrow?
I want to say, what is there anything else in the store
What for tomorrow?
for the rest of the time?
Yeah. Okay.
For the rest of
all
for the rest of the existence of the world, Tom.
Yes, for the rest of the existence of the world, we have a few announcements that we're going to make for the next couple of days. We're going to do more podcasts or live streams.
I like live streams better when they work.
Don't always have content for visuals.
Not visuals, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, we'd like to do one tomorrow about the fire. I'm sure you guys have all heard there's a new wave of excitement about the Titanic because someone said, oh, Titanic was on fire, that's why it sank. So we want to actually address this because this is hilarious, it's funny, and the journalist who says this is, well, we have some points that we want to address regarding this. And we're thinking of doing this tomorrow, actually.
Mm-hmm. So that will be. Do we have a time?
Yeah, we were going to do it at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is an hour. Yeah, so
Sorry.
20 minutes ago tomorrow, an hour after this one. We're going to be getting together, and we're going to talk about the fire, and we're going to have a whole bunch of lols, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, we'll make an event on our Facebook page about it.
Yeah, so go like us on Facebook if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you have, but I'm sure some of you haven't. You'll see the event for tomorrow. You can check it out. You can RSVP. You don't have to. I mean, we only had 30 RSVPs for people saying they would be there, and now here we had almost 500 people listening. So we're going to talk about it. We have some great evidence, and this theory about Titanic sinking because it's on fire is going to be very interesting to address. And we can certainly put it to bed more than that documentary did.
I think we can talk about a couple other theories too, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about all of the theories.
There's multiple. There's many theories to be discussed.
Many
So, yeah.
theories. There'll always be theories. 200 years from now, there'll be people coming up with new theories.
And
Are you-
200 years from now, there'll be theories that our game was the Titanic.
Well, hold on a second. I gotta pause you both. Are we referring to theories or conspiracy theories?
All of it.
All of it.
Everything.
Everything. Both.
Everything.
All of it.
Everything
Okay.
in the entire world for the rest of history, like I said.
Okay. Yeah, there will be conspiracy theories about us. There already are conspiracy theories about us, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to just address this real quick now, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow more. It's really funny. People think Titanic was deliberately sunk for an insurance scam. When people come to us in private messages and they will say, you know it's true, right? That's the funny thing. They always say, you know it's true, or something along those lines. They always call it the truth. It's not maybe, but they know. These guys know. And they come to us, and then when we lay out evidence and say, that's not true, here is why, well, then they just believe we're in on it.
Well,
So-
yeah, that's standard
Yeah, but it's because
conspiracy
we wanted to
theorist
make
thing.
money on it too.
Yeah, so we're conspiracy theories now. Too.
Obviously, we were in on it back in 1912 because we were
Yeah.
eventually going to make a game on it, and we were going to take so long to make that game, which we
Yeah,
are right
it wasn't-
now, even so we could eventually make millions of dollars, which we are obviously making millions of dollars on right now, which is why we still ask for contributions from everybody. So obviously, we sank the Titanic at the end.
All right. So anyway, we're going to talk about it tomorrow. We're going to talk about all the theories that have been brought up in that documentary. We're going to talk about the fire. We're going to talk about the weak steel. We're going to maybe even tackle the crazy conspiracy theories. So tune in tomorrow. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's Eastern United States
Right.
time.
The event on Facebook should change it to your time zone, I think. That's how it works. So yes.
Yes. That's going to be on Mixlr though, right? That's not going to be YouTube.
I guess so. There won't be any visuals really to go along with it. That's our Mixlr
Yes.
page.
So we're just going to do it on our podcast page. I mean, we still pay for that. We might as well use it.
So we're going to have that one coming up. Then we're going to have a couple other ones too.
Yeah. After that, Wednesday we're going to have off because I'm busy that day.
Yeah, Wednesday's always a bad day. But Thursday, should we talk about Thursday? Wait, we skipped Tuesday.
What was Tuesday?
What was Tuesday? We had another one on Tuesday.
I think it was today. I think Tuesday was going to be Britannic.
Okay, I know there's a third one though. At least.
There's a third. Yeah, it's the demo.
The demo again, because we messed up the demo before.
Yeah, we did a walkthrough of the
Yeah.
demo number 2. Kyle, you got to be there for that one, by the
Yes.
way.
Since you
Yes,
did
I
everything.
do.
Since you did everything in that one.
Well,
Yeah, we're
not
watching.
just- but he's got to be the. Oh, well, we can do it off your computer. Anyway, we're going to be doing a walkthrough live stream of our demo number 2.
Again.
We did it already back when we first released it. We did a live stream. It was fun. There was about 600 people there. I had like 4 glasses of wine. It was a great night, and
We did it on
we're
Twitch.
we did do it on Twitch.
And we didn't know how to use Twitch.
We had no idea how to use Twitch. We still don't. So it didn't record it, so it didn't save it. So we were very disappointed. A lot of people who missed the live stream were very disappointed. So we're going to do it again. This time it's going to be recorded. Join us again. We're going to do another walkthrough. We'll give the historical details of the demo. We'll give some behind the scenes like we did just now with this. And it's just going to be a fun evening. So join us. That's going to be either Tuesday or Thursday. I forget. We'll make an announcement. You'll see it on our Facebook.
Yeah, for
And then
everyone.
we're going to do one more podcast after that. Not a live stream, but a podcast. And that's just going to be questions and answers.
Yeah.
So join us. We're going to announce it on our book face.
Right.
And go from there.
So that's
All
our
right.
little week of podcasts, live streams for the year.
That's right.
Mhm.
Our beginning of the year of fun things. Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We had, I got a text from someone. I didn't see who it was from, but someone said we had like 433 people at one point.
433.
500.
Oh, well, 433 would have been very coincidental.
Yeah, because Britannic's number was 433. Yeah, we're such nerds.
We are,
Okay.
Yeah.
That also means it's a conspiracy.
Conspiracy, you're right, it is.
This is the Illuminati.
Right.
Yep. That all makes sense now. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with us. Watch our Facebook for announcements on the time and places of the next podcast.
Yep.
Thank you and good night.
Yep. Night, everybody.
night.